Hey, welcome back. I'm glad you're here because today we're diving back into some X-Files mythology with Tunguska, episode 8 of season 4. Debuting November 24th, 1996, Tunguska follows Mulder as he decides he's going to Russia after a mysterious rock is discovered and that pesky black oil makes its return. The episode begins with Scully on trial. I don't know what she's done, but she's clearly been a bad girl. She starts giving some speech on corruption when a senator tells her this is neither the time nor the place. And this guy here always makes me think of Dr. Hill from Reanimator.
Agent Scully, do you or do you not know the whereabouts of Agent Mulder?
Oh crap, what is he up to now? We're not 2 minutes into this thing and Mulder's already kicked the hornet's nest. These people really want to know where Mulder is, but Scully isn't saying a thing. Instead, she's calling out those that can't be held accountable, those that seem to work above the law. If she did this in 2024, they'd have a Boeing employee after her so fast. Remember everyone, Scully isn't suicidal. 10 days prior at the Honolulu airport, some government official making his way back from Russia is brought in for a random check by customs officials. So much for his diplomatic immunity. Don't they remember the firestorm that almost happened when Mulder brought in that Japanese diplomat?
Is that your only piece of luggage, sir?
Yes.
Can you open it for me?
No.
Sir, I'm not offering it as a choice.
These people always make me laugh. Like, who the hell are you to tell me what to do? Tough guy with his little plastic badge doesn't like being told what to do, so he decides to go on a power trip and strip search the man. He goes even further when he opens the guy's briefcase and pulls out 2 cylindrical objects, which the man warns him is filled with biohazardous material.
Open this door! Somebody open this door! Somebody!
Why is it always the biggest dumbasses that get put in these positions of perceived power? Well, way to go, Butterfingers. Now because of your stupidity, you get taken over by the black oil. Meanwhile, in New York City, Mulder and Scully are performing some actual FBI work for once. And am I the only one who gets slightly aroused watching Scully load that magazine into that gun?
I've received a series of receipts over the past few weeks for detonation cord, for racing and diesel fuel, for 80 bags of ammonium nitrate, purchased in cash in 3 different states under 3 different signatures.
Sounds like someone is about to have quite the 4th of July celebration. But why would Mulder of all people be getting leaked info about explosive material that is being purchased? Unless Bigfoot is behind the whole thing, I think they've got the wrong person.
Well, so who do you think's leaking them, and why would they leak them to you?
I'm glad Scully has that same thought, and someone better adopt that stray dog. A truck comes in either to pick up or drop off said explosive material, but before any transaction can be made, the FBI make themselves known. The men begin to fire at the FBI, and how dare they put my Scully at risk? The truck takes off, but Mulder and Scully chase after it, somehow avoiding the gunfire and fast enough to keep up with a moving vehicle. The truck comes to a quick stop, but I don't think it was the driver's choice.
You son of a bitch.
And what in the hell is that silly Krychek up to now? He apparently was the one who sent Mulder all the intel on this little case, so just whose side is he on? The reason why he was with these men to begin with was because they found him in North Dakota while doing a salvage run for materials. If it wasn't for these guys, Krychek would have likely died in that missile silo, so he got very lucky.
Hey, you go underground, you gotta learn to live with the rats.
This line is funny because from what I discovered, the online fan community would always refer to Krychek as Rat Boy, a nickname I use as well in the X-Files, but for a character we only see in 1 episode. And when that episode comes, I'll be sure to let you know. Krychek says he's come back to find the man that tried to kill him, and goes on to say the man that also killed Mulder's father and Scully's sister. Now, my brain may be a little foggy, but from what I can recall, Krychek killed Mulder's father, and he had a hand in killing Scully's sister. If he's inferring it was the cigarette-smoking man, well, he may have put Krychek up to it, but he's not the one who pulled the trigger. But he doesn't want to kill CSM, he wants to expose him. Killing him achieves nothing, and these men cannot be brought to justice. Mulder and Scully bring Krychek to the Dulles airport because he claims to know about more bombs, and one of these men will be coming through here from Russia.
Still has to go through customs.
No. We'll be carrying a diplomatic pouch.
They find their guy, but as soon as Scully approaches him, he takes off running. I love how he has tons of space to run, but still decides to knock people over for whatever reason. See, this is why the Russians weren't allowed to compete in the Olympics. Even though he got away, he conveniently left behind his little diplomatic pouch. Mulder and Scully are a little pissed because they went through all of that and all they found was a little rock.
What did you get for Halloween, Charlie Brown?
Why is that musical sting so overly dramatic? Anyways, we get ourselves a half-naked Skinner and Mulder needing to see him late night because he needs somewhere safe to hide Krychek for the time being.
He'll be safe here.
It's hard not to laugh, but Krychek is always getting his ass beat. Skinner handcuffs Krychek to the railing on his balcony, a spot where absolutely no one will ever see him or report a handcuffed man to the police. At NASA's Department of Exobiology, Mulder and Scully brought their special little rock to Dr. Sachs, who is the second cousin of Dr. Testes. He speaks some sciencey mumbo-jumbo, but their rock appears to have come from Mars.
Was it valuable? Beyond adding evidence to the debate over fossilized remains of alien bacteria, it's relatively worthless.
Worthless, yet a tiny fragment will cost you around $80 on eBay. The doc's gonna take a sample of the rock because he's thinking it could have some fossilized alien bacteria, which is the beginning of every sci-fi horror movie ever. Skinner's out and about enjoying the nice weather, but just how damn tall is this cigarette-smoking man? CSM questions Skinner about the whereabouts of the pouch that Mulder and Scully found, and he's like, pouch? What pouch? Meanwhile, Krychek is still on the balcony when Phil Collins breaks into Skinner's place looking for it. Krychek sends him flying in the air tonight, but a man falling from a building definitely won't draw any kind of attention. Mulder gets word about what happened to the man at the Honolulu airport and thinks what's inside this rock may be even bigger than the existence of aliens or the conspiracy to cover them up. Scully isn't nearly as convinced, but I mean, it's Scully. Did you expect anything different? Dr. Sachs is slicing open the rock when it sprays him with that darn black oil. So much for his biohazard suit, because the black oil, enters him.
The police are at my place with a dead body. They want to talk to everyone in the building.
Mulder leaves Scully to find out more about the rock, while he heads back to Skinner's place to find out more about this dead man. While Skinner's being questioned by the police about the man people saw dangling from his balcony, which I mean, come on, that was the dumbest place to handcuff him, Mulder just moseys on inside because someone has to deal with Krychek. But if they're investigating a death, why isn't someone blocking the door?
Yeah, you get me out. Stupid ass haircut.
I don't know why, but this line always cracks me up. Turns out the dead guy outside Skinner's place was the Russian guy with the pouch. Scully calls Mulder because Dr. Sachs had something brown and sticky explode all over him and now he isn't responding. Anyways, later that night, Mulder wakes Marita from a deep sleep, but how did he know where she lives?
How do you know where I live?
FBI database. I'm sorry, it's a matter of extreme urgency.
Well, that clears that up. Mulder needs to know more about this pouch, but before he learns anything, decides to take a little nap first. Marita rudely interrupts his sleep so she can tell him that the pouch moved through an area of Russia that is just north of Tunguska. Mulder gets triggered by the mere thought of Tunguska and immediately decides he's booking a flight there.
How long will it take?
How long do you have?
What exactly are these two talking about? Can someone explain to me how Mulder's able to drive his car with Krychek handcuffed to the steering wheel? I feel it would make turning kind of impossible. Poor Pendrell gets dragged into this whole mess with Dr. Sachs, and man, the things we'll do for love. He's concerned because the suits they're putting on are the same ones the doc was wearing, and I understand his concern. It's not like the suit prevented the black oil from getting inside.
Oh my god.
Dr. Sachs appears to still be alive, so that's a positive, I guess. At the airport, Mulder threatens to leave Krychek there until he gets back. But after Krychek just happens to say bad words in Russian, Mulder realizes he can use him. These two would be the best of friends if it weren't for all the murder. CSM meets with his good buddy, the well-manicured man, so we can give him the good news that the courier, the guy with the pouch, is dead, and someone matching Mulder's description and carrying UN credentials appears to be heading to Russia.
I don't think you realize what's at stake here. What level this must be carried to. This will take more than just a good aim.
I'm glad all of CSM's buddies know his go-to method of cleaning things up is with a gun. Meanwhile, Scully, Mulder, and Skinner have all been summoned in front of some senators because they've all been very naughty. Don't they know exposing the government for being sketchy is against the law? Skinner asks where Mulder is, and she won't tell him. The two then get into a tense staring contest, but this is no time for games. Mulder and Krychek get dropped off in the middle of nowhere by some guy. And this is exactly how all diplomatic officials travel.
What are we doing here, Mulder?
I see Krychek has taken over the Scully role. The reason they're there isn't because of the rock so much as it is the Tunguska blast of 1908. Mulder thinks the cause of that incident, the real cause of it, is being hidden here. They come upon some kind of forced mining camp, but they're not the sneakiest pair and are quickly caught. Mulder's thrown into a gulag where he meets a friendly fellow who says he was brought here to die.
We gotta get out of here. They're gonna torture us.
Krychek is tossed in the cell, claiming they were trying to get him to confess to being American spies. But can Krychek of all people be trusted? Meanwhile, Scully and Skinner are brought in to meet with Senator Sorensen over the death of the diplomat that fell off from Skinner's balcony. You'd think a nasty gulag would serve better food. A guard comes in and Krychek says something to him, which allows him to leave. But I'm sure he'll be back to take Mulder too. Mulder's new friend tells him he's being deceived, but doesn't say how exactly. Some men come in and inject Mulder with something, and the next thing you know, he's in the most uncomfortable chicken wire bed that I've ever seen. Well, him and like a dozen others. Whatever's going on can't be that bad. Uh-oh, it's that damn pesky black oil. Let's see how Mulder gets himself out of this mess. Tunguska is a solid mythology-based episode. It's always fun when Krychek shows up because you know something's going down. It's never just a normal day in the X-Files when he's there. I still feel a bit sorry for him too because he just gets his ass beat by everyone. But he does sell out Mulder at the end, so you can't feel that sorry for him. The black oil is always fun, but it seems to act a bit differently than it has in the past. It seemed more sentient in the previous episodes when it was going from host to host. Maybe this isn't the same kind of black oil, I'm not sure. But if it is, then why doesn't it use its little radioactive flash to escape when it takes over the Doctor? As far as my thoughts on the episode as a whole, I honestly don't have a lot to say. Chris Carter and Frank Spotnitz would take up writing duties for the episode, and on August 7th, 1996, nearly 4 months prior to the episode's debut, a press conference would be held in Washington, D.C., put together by NASA. During the press conference, it was announced that a meteorite that was believed to have fallen to Earth from Mars carried characteristics and possible fossils that they believed could be proof that primitive life may have existed on Mars some 3.6 billion years prior. This idea of an ancient rock landing on Earth and holding within it life immediately struck a chord with the X-Files writing staff. Frank Spotnitz said, "The idea of putting the alien oil in the rock was because of the Mars rock stories. After the news broke, I came in the next morning and said, well, X-Files." They took this news story, mixing it with the black oil they had already been telling, and adding in a sort of Cold War theme, pitting Russia versus the United States in an arms race to create a vaccine against the black oil. To begin building on their story, they had to figure out who would or would not be involved. That's when Krychek sprang in their minds. Krychek had a Russian name, which was a pretty good coincidence, and the writing team enjoyed working with the character. Krychek was really never supposed to last this long on the show, but no matter how hard they tried, they just couldn't give him up. He also seemed to be unkillable because no matter what kind of situation they put him in, he always managed to find a way out. By season 4, Chris Carter saw Krychek as having no political alliances anywhere, which gave them an opportunity to open the X-Files up and make it more of a global conspiracy than just one in the United States. Chris has also gone on to say that by season 4, they knew what they wanted to do when it came to the mythology storyline and where they wanted to go with it. But as someone who had to sit through it, I can tell you that's a bold-faced lie. Kim Manners would be given directing duties for the episode, and Gillian has a fun story about how he would inspire the cast when it came to them reacting to the rock prop. He was trying to remind us what we were dealing with was from outer space, and we were treating it too casually. So right before we would shoot, he'd yell, "Rock from Mars!" And that became our running joke from that point on. Every time we needed to get it up for the scene, Kim would yell, "Rock from Mars!" And that would be his way of kind of sparking us into life again when we were just too exhausted. I swear, the more I learn about Kim Manners, the crazier and crazier he sounds. In the best kind of way, of course. It's a shame he's no longer with us. While I'd like to say everything was smooth sailing for the production of this episode, they did have an issue with the special effects. After visual effects artist Matt Beck left the X-Files after season 3, the team hired on an independent effects company to help create the black oil effects seen throughout the episode. Problems began to arise when producers noticed that they just weren't making them look right. Frank Spotnitz recalled the situation. There were some shots we didn't see until Wednesday, and the show was airing on Sunday. And on Wednesday, we gave them lots of notes on how we'd like to see them redone. Finally, on Friday, they showed up and said, sorry, this is the best we can do. And it wasn't what we wanted. And we were actually missing 2 shots that were in the show. They were not done at all. And we said, wait a minute, you don't understand. This cannot happen. At the last minute, the producers frantically called local effects houses in Los Angeles and pulled an all-nighter Friday through Saturday trying to get the needed shots done. Though they were able to get what they needed, 3 separate cuts of the episode, each with progressively better effects, were sent out to 3 separate satellites. The first and worst of the bunch was sent out to the Midwest. The second one was sent to Canada, and the third to the rest of the United States. This means that depending where you lived, you could have seen a slightly worse version of the episode compared to everyone else. The version shown on DVD, Blu-ray, and streaming is the final version of the episode, but there still could be some of the other ones floating around out there on some forgotten recorded VHS tape. Tunguska is a fairly solid episode and currently sits at 8.5 on IMDb. I'll probably go with an 8 myself, but it's not really an episode you can just watch on its own. Up next, we continue with Mulder trying to escape a Russian prison, and Scully attempts to avoid jail of her own, and the episode Terma. So what do you think of Tunguska? Let me know down in the comments. Anyways, that's all for today. Hopefully I see you beautiful people in the next video, and stay spooky.
Sunday on a brand new X-Files.
What you're looking at is quite possibly from Mars.
I think we'd all like to know what's in that rock.
A discovery from another world.
Whatever's in that rock, it appears to be lethal.
Could mean the end of ours. A brand new X-Files, Sunday at 9, 8 Central.